Du, 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 du. I'm resident of college for YouTube, Joel Saints, joined by my buddy Mark Gillman. Mark, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm great. Great to be here.
We're here to discuss the preacher from Halloween 4. I'm going to let you take this because this was your idea.
hmm Um, we've been talking about, where we would like the Halloween franchise to go, and I've seen your friend Darnell Weeks, Myers fan, um, make some community posts on YouTube where he said that he
Yeah.
would like to see, asking what people's thoughts were about where they would like the franchise to go going forward, and something that I really would like to see explored um, was, how Halloween Ends really drove home the theme of that evil never dies, that you can't ever kill the boogeyman, but he can change shape. And just like Michael and Corey existed, they were two shapes of evil, two different shapes, but
Yeah.
they existed at the same time.
Right.
Um, I love the minister in Halloween 4 that picked up Loomis when he was hitchhiking. And he said that he's been hunting his shape for 40 years. And he said they always have a face and a name. And, I just thought that, who was it that he was chasing after? And, what was it about the holiday itself, Halloween, that, connected to the shape that he was chasing? And we know it wasn't Michael Myers because he said he'd been chasing it for 40 years. So, and Michael wasn't 40 years old at that time. So I would love to see something come of that, because even though he was only on screen for 1 or 2 minutes,
Yeah.
I he made an impression. And I would love to see, I guess what it was that he was looking after, because I mean, it must be something pretty powerful to have evaded him for 40 years,
I'm,
and
s-
something very, very sinister.
I'm sort of,
So,
I think, I
go
wonder if
ahead.
he
I'm
was,
sorry.
I know, I wonder if he was looking for a cult.
It could be.
You know what I mean? Because
hmm
I don't think he's looking for a serial killer per se,
hmm
but because with characters always go on quests. Like we see this in video games, Link,
hmm
Mario, etc., etc.
hmm
Ripley, even in movies, they go on quests. It's the same thing, but a different things.
hmm
And so, what's up? Oh, okay. Um, okay, you're right. Uh, they when they go on these quests, they're not always going after the same thing, but they're going after a form of evil,
hmm
or a shape of evil. When they, it doesn't have to, this doesn't have to maintain the Halloween, but for this conversation, I'll try to keep it there. I was just using those as comparisons, but
hmm
it would have been interesting to see if when he goes to a town, the preacher from 4,
hmm
and we see a town that is sort of living in fear, and the preacher is trying to find out why. And here he sort of discovers, well, it's this cult he's been after. Now, I would watch going that route too, because we had a cult in Halloween 6.
hmm
But you could also just grow a group of evil kids. There's a lot of things you could do. Maybe he's after a demonic spirit.
hmm
Again,
Exactly.
the Dark Shadows sort of explores this.
hmm
Barnabas is always fighting this new evil,
Yeah.
and sometimes the best way, he sort of fought evil different ways each
hmm
time, uh, and it was crazy. It's like, dude, they're just when you think it's like, there's no way this dude's pulling it out, and then
hmm
somehow, so hook or crook, he pulls it out,
Yep.
and it's like, damn, Barnabas, damn. Uh,
hmm
but I
Or
do,
it could have been Barnabas he was going after. Who knows?
right, right. I was talking about the parallel time variants of Barnabas, but Yeah, who knows? It could have been Barnabas.
Hmm.
Maybe he knows the Collins family.
Yep.
There's so many different variables that when a character goes after an evil entity or being, if you will, we
Hmm.
don't know what it is. And when we're introduced to a character, I think some fans often too quickly throw something away. Oh, that character's never coming back into the franchise. Oh no, not necessarily true, but they could come back in the franchise
Exactly.
if you created a story around them.
Hmm. Exactly. And I think that would be, even if it was only for one, maybe 2 seasons, I think that would be a good premise for a Halloween, streaming series like on Netflix or um, HBO or whatever. Um, I think that would be a good. I think that would be a good Halloween series.
Yeah, I hope they do like a bunch of different things. They
Hmm.
don't. I'd
Hmm.
like to see. Keep in mind, what was Jaws. Here's Roy Schreider's character, Martin Brody. He wasn't from Amityville. Him and his family, they were from New York, and
Hmm.
the reason he didn't want to go back to New York was because of all the crime. Now
Yeah.
he says there's too many people. What he's really saying is there's too much crime,
Yeah.
and so he said one person can't make a difference. I sort of wonder, well, what if you took somebody who sort of saw that in a modern day sense? Here's this guy who's living in Los Angeles. Here's this African American cop,
Hmm.
and he's got a family, and he sees this crime day in and day out,
Hmm.
and it's too many people, and so he starts looking up. The big difference would be when he looks up Haddonfield, he finds out everything about it. Why the
Hmm.
property's so cheap, why the property's up for sale. That yes, this town is home to a notorious killer that
Hmm.
strikes once a year. So he weighs the option. Let's see, once a year, a face potentially squaring off against a serial killer, or having my kids hug the floor every damn day. I'll take my chances.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
What he doesn't realize is why. Yes, the property's cheap,
Hmm.
but there's only like 30 people living in the town, so
Hmm.
a lot of it's like abandoned and shit. And his wife's like, what the hell's this? Like, what the fuck is this? Like,
Exactly.
like, right. Like, what the conversation would not be pretty. She's like, what? Why is there nobody living around us?
Hmm.
Why is this town empty?
Yeah.
And now there's somewhere where you could have that same preacher come into that town
Hmm.
and sort of talk about what happened and what led to Haddonfield being almost nearly abandoned.
Yeah.
Or you could have a preacher character where
Hmm.
I would just have it be, let's see, because you have to space resurrection and shit.
Hmm.
So in 2008,
Hmm.
some kids were trick or treating. Like, people had moved on from Michael. They figure he's not coming back, right?
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
Haddonfield's done it numerous of times. Like,
Hmm.
come on, we're not. He's not going to keep coming around. Wrong. Um, he comes around, and he kills 12, not teenagers, little kids,
Hmm.
and not just those 12, but specifically 12 little kids and some teenagers. And then
Hmm.
one teenager who's left alive who thinks about their little brother or sister or whatever dying that night.
Hmm.
They can't stop thinking about it. So you have that too. And the preacher is telling the LA cop, former LA cop, this, and he's like, "Oh shit!" like, like, okay, that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But he still weighs the options. Something I was thinking too
Hmm.
was last again, you'd have to sort of set this. You could set this today, but
Mhm.
I'd have this where you'd have these kids. Their mother didn't want to buy them the internet. Their mother didn't want them to have cell phones, so she buys them a CB radio,
Uh-huh.
and they're like bitching, like this is dumb, right? You could see a
Uh-huh.
kid bitching about this today, right?
Uh-huh. Oh yeah.
like, like no, mom, I want the computer. Too bad. Um,
Right.
but so they got this CB radio,
Uh-huh.
and they're talking to like truckers at first, and they're like, okay, and the trucker's like, hey, after a while, you sort of have to get off this channel because it's used for this. It's used for emergencies. So they get off the channel and they switch to another one,
Uh-huh.
which you can do with CB. My grandfather gave. See, that's the thing. My grandfather gave us a CB when we were kids for Christmas,
Oh, that's cool.
and we annoyed the hell out of our parents with it.
Oh, I bet.
We kept hitting the mic. Hello, 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 hello. This is this is Billy Bob Thornton, the actor. No, no, just
Hmm.
Billy Bob. Um, but I could not think of good names at that time. Um, my brother had the went with the crypt keeper from Tales from the Crypt, which was cool. Um,
Oh, nice.
but so they're playing with this then, and they're just like, the one brother gets up and leaves. Like, hey, you sit and listen to it. Like he's getting bored with it. The younger brother's just sitting there like looking at it. He keeps turning. Finally, he catches and he says, "Please help me." And he's like, it's sort of like, what was that? And he says, "Hello."
Uh-huh.
Then he hears it again. "Please help me. Who is
Wow.
this?" And this young girl tells him what her name, and she what you learn is she's in the abandoned town of Haddonfield,
Uh-huh.
and she finds a
Wow.
CB radio that still works.
Uh-huh.
And the reason she's there is because her friends and her went there on a dare,
Uh-huh.
and she's starving. She's been there for almost 20 some odd days. She's like the last one of her friend people, like one of her the people who came there left.
Uh-huh.
Like she's it. Like if she gets killed, like and so she's reaching out, and she goes and gets his brother, and then all they hear is the breathing. They hear Michael Myers breathing,
Uh-huh.
and he got her, and they're like, "What the hell just happened? What did we
Uh-huh.
just hear?" And they
Uh-huh.
tell their parents, and their parents just dismiss it as crazy.
Yeah.
Like you
Wow.
can do a lot of crazy shit with Halloween.
You can. You can. And, would, if they did do a series about what this minister was looking for, would you want it to be set right after he drops Loomis off in Haddonfield, or would you want it to be like something modern, like 30 years late, 25, 30 years later?
If you did modern, what you could do was that it's not just that it's not just that priest that was looking for something. It's
Hmm.
a a priest gets selected from their own parish
Hmm.
to sort of face the evil that men has created, right?
Hmm.
Out into the world, the unseen evil.
Hmm.
And it's up to sort of these priests to find this evil, confront it. So if you couldn't have it be that priest because of his age, you'd
Hmm.
have it be somebody who he passed it down to, not necessarily a
Hmm.
son or daughter, but somebody that was who was under him, who was
Right.
learning to become a priest under him. That's something you could do,
Hmm.
or you could set it right after. You probably have to recast the priest by now.
Oh, yeah, yeah, because I think that actor has passed away.
Yeah, but he you could recast the priest and sort of do the same thing. except for you don't have to pass it down. It's he was chosen by the Pope, let's say, to confront evil, and he's seen the evil once. That's sort of why he's telling Loomis damnation doesn't die like a man, because he's already seen it once.
Yeah.
So he's following it through Haddonfield. It isn't in his evil. The priest's evil isn't in Haddonfield. Haddonfield's got its own issues.
Yes.
But so he goes through Haddonfield looking for his evil. That's how I would love to see that done.
I would love that too. And I kind of had a sense that, maybe he was kind of a rogue person, sort of like Loomis was, where he was hung up on Michael for over 15 years. And, at this time in Halloween 4, it was 25 years that he was, he was hung up with Michael. And, it was like Loomis said about himself, that it was an obsession for him. And I kind of had a feeling that this was absolutely something, that the priest was doing, that he would be willing to leave his church and everybody behind to go pursue whatever it was he was looking for. What was it he said? As sure as breasts and blue suede shoes.
Yeah. It's like, I'm like, man, this dude's lived through some shit now. I mean,
Yeah.
like he's not. That's just it. None of that is throwaway either. That's what I love about it. It's like, no, wait, this dude's on to something here. Like he might not be after Michael. He's after something else. So
yeah,
and you'll meet characters like there are a lot of characters that are anti-heroes. Like the character, Clint Eastwood's character in Hannum High, which is the start of the Angel of Death trilogy. It's like Hannum High, Pell Rider, and oh god, the movie I have on Blu-ray. High Plains Drifter. So here's Clint Eastwood's character who was a lawman who has some cattle. He gets caught by this lynch mob. He gets wrongfully hung. He gets saved by the marshal, who's played by Ben Johnson, who Ben Johnson's character gets killed in the movie. What's up, hon?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. But he.
What is something going to be up?
I'm just asking.
Okay, your height. Shrink a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you can't grow. I know, honey. I'm sorry.
I am. I'm literally the shortest one in the family now.
You are, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud.
To be 12-year-old is already taller than me.
I'm so proud of you, honey.
You wears bigger shoe size than me too.
She does. Yeah.
No,
Logan does. That's right. It'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Okay, you say so.
It'll be okay.
You say so.
Our kids will.
You got height.
Our kids will still want you to ride the rides with them on the theme park. So,
yeah, because you're chicken.
I'm not chicken. I rode the Ferris wheel. You didn't.
You and that Ferris wheel. You and that Ferris wheel can go to you nowhere.
I've played Silent Hill games. I've been to hell. Anyway. But there are a lot of anti-heroes out there too. That's what makes this like so interesting too, because you've seen characters like in westerns. Carl Kolchak was an anti-hero who chased like everything all over the place, a story that would lead him into a supernatural event. Barnabas was an anti-hero in every way. So I'm not knocking him. I said he's an anti-hero. That's a good thing.
Shit.
He is.
You're looking for around in this time because you'd be chopped liver, dude.
I would. We all would, especially the cattle.
You're wrong.
No, listen. Ask Mark.
There's nothing wrong with me. I'm like a little fresh red meat.
No, there's not. But the first thing that happens when Barnabas gets out after, besides choking Willie Loomis, is that the cattle get
Yep.
get their veins tapped.
Exactly.
Well, when you've been whatever off for how long?
Like over
that thing, you're a little thirsty too. Okay, just a little bit.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
So that's the thing.
6 or 8 cows.
Yeah, 6 or that's probably about it, right too. But there's a lot of anti-heroes out there too, so it would make it interesting to see a priest them go that route, and it would be nice to see what they would do with it.
Yeah, because a lot of them, condemn the holiday of Halloween already. So I think that that would be something cool to see, like in a series. Like maybe the first season would be like when the priest was younger, and his encounter with it, and then the second season would be like flash forward, maybe after he drops off Loomis and finally confronts it. So just some ideas. That's my pitch.
Well, there's the thing. There's things you could do with it too. Like when he's not, when you're young, you're sort of exposed to good and evil when you're really young. So when he's young, he's sort of being dragged to church by his parents, and he doesn't really want to go. And then when he pulls away, he goes around the corner and he sees this figure across the street, like calling him. But for whatever reason, he doesn't go. And he goes back to his parents. It goes back to the church. Well, why did you come back? This dark figure kept calling me over, and it didn't feel right. And you sort of play to that there is this unforeseen evil when you don't, sort of give yourself to the church to a degree. I mean, look, Silent Hill sort of does. Silent Hill does this shit too, where look at Silent Hill 3, where the girl keeps running away from. She's trying to run away from what's coming, and she can't.
Right.
Like all the doors are locked, unless there's ones that aren't locked. There's reasons that the creatures look like dicks and sperm.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
okay,
I'm not making it up. But there's.
You're done playing video games.
No. Well, he doesn't play Silent Hill 3.
He ain't gonna do ever either. Okay. Neither is Sophie. They better stick to Mario.
Sophie plays Kirby. She's fine.
And when Kirby and Mario start doing that kind of crap, that's it. Done. No more.
I might have to call Konami. They need to buy Kirby. But anyway.
To never do that. They will lose a lot of money.
But I think there's things that like you could play with that, where here's this young kid who isn't sure he wants to, be a part, have God in his life, and then he sees something that's dark and evil, and it's like, well, wait a second, maybe I should. And that's sort of what. And they explained to him what he really saw was the devil. Like the devil is always around you, whether you accept God or not, because the devil is pure evil, and what will protect you most is your faith in God. And so that's what they tell him. But there are elements of the devil on earth that want to bring him out of hell. That's something you could definitely play with.
Yeah, I was thinking before we started the video about like, what if that guy was headed towards Silent Hill?
Right? Jesus Christ. Oh my God. And have to banish all the monsters. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's the thing too. Like Silent Hill, like depending on which, like if you play 2, or I have a Silent Hill 2 question for you too. Like when you play Silent Hill, it's supposed to be, well, if you're crazy, you're gonna see the monsters. But it's just like, because Silent Hill is as much about fate as Halloween is, right? Like
Absolutely.
you can't run from it. Like
Right.
no. So here's my Silent Hill 2 question. If they because they are supposed to be doing another Silent Hill movie.
Mm-hmm.
If they say we're just going to do Silent Hill 2 as a movie, which would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Who would you cast as James Sunderland?
Mm. Hmm. I would think Brandon Routh. That was Superman and Superman Returns.
Yeah, he's about the
I could
right.
see him being a good James.
He's about the right age now too, isn't he?
Yeah.
That James was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go somebody who's also the right age because he seems to never age too. Is Aaron Eckhart?
Mm-hmm.
Though my only issue with Aaron Eckhart though is I really do think he would look so much like James.
True. Very, very true.
There's such a thing as casting an actor who sort of looks like the character a little too much.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like when you play Silent Hill 1, Harry Mason doesn't look like anybody. He just doesn't. And people say, well, he was named after a fictional character. Yeah, Perry Mason, but he doesn't look like Perry Mason, though, either.
No, not in the slightest.
When you watch the original series, it's not like he's looking like the character of Perry Mason.
Not at all. And most of the time, you're looking at the back of his head, and his face is just like, just a bunch of pixels that doesn't really have much of a distinction to it.
Right.
It could be anybody.
Right. It's like when you look at James Sunderland, it's like that sort of looks like Aaron Eckhart.
Mm-hmm.
No offense, Aaron Eckhart. Oh my! Brandon Ralph too would get probably because when James's hair, like depending on how his hair looks light, then it looks dark, depending on where you're standing.
Mm-hmm.
So if they mess with it and Brandon Ralph starts looking like Jim, I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
You now will be remembered. If you weren't worried about being typecast as Superman, you will definitely be typecast as James Sunderland. And that isn't necessarily a good thing.
Right. But I just feel like he could pull off that kind of dual nature that James had.
Yeah.
I feel like he would be good because he could look very, very kind, but at the same time, I've seen him play someone pretty evil, and I think he could pull both of them off pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Sunderland can be an evil son of a bitch. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's how you play the character.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you do, don't look at Mary's picture. It's all a lie.
Yep.
Somebody who deserved what she had coming. I mean, what? That's who Mary is. That's who Mary is in Silent Hill too. No, I do think that you made a great choice, and I do think that if they do Silent Hill 2, it will be nice to see. I don't know if they will because I know they're remaking it as the game, but they're also releasing new Silent Hill games, so it'll be interesting to what choice they make. Now, could they go bold and go Silent Hill The Room? I don't know. I don't know if they'll do that, but that would be interesting.
Yeah, I've never played that game, but I think I know enough about it to I think it can make a good series. Not to cram into 2.5 hours, but
no, because
I think it could possibly do a series.
The weatherman just said a bad word.
Did he?
Yeah. TV.
Well, he's the weatherman.
You want to know what he said?
What?
He said the awful S word. He
said
snow.
Oh no.
Well,
He needs to shut his mouth.
That's not a bad word. That's not
That's an awful
that's
word.
not a bad word.
It's 14 days till spring. We're not allowed to say snow no more.
Well, go thank the groundhog. Remember,
Yeah.
6 more weeks.
Yeah,
Six-
that groundhog right between the eyes.
That's right. I know. No one likes the groundhog.
Yeah. 6 more weeks of leaving your oven door open for heat.
That's it. What's the good thing? Like, people are like, do you listen to the groundhog? No, I listen to the woodpecker. Like, the what? I'm like, go listen. If you hear the woodpecker pecking the trees, it means spring's a coming, kids.
Yep.
That too. There have been. I don't know if you noticed, but like I've killed like 3 wasps in my house.
Oh, wow.
And spring's not here, so but it sort of lets me know that spring's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those ants too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing too. Like, I would love to see, like, if they do a Halloween series, like, don't just, if you make it about Michael Myers, don't just make it a slasher.
Mm-hmm.
Make it about the people who are either living with in Haddonfield, but also tell the story outside of Haddonfield. Like, give a reason. Like, don't start it off with a main character like a John Tate, but give a reason why John Tate's coming to Haddonfield. Like, your first season should be about the people who are living in town and the people who are moving there, not including John at that time. Your second, by the end of your first 2 seasons, Michael hasn't shown up. So the kids who are there are like, ha, told you so, told you so. Because to experience, the only really true way to appreciate Michael is to experience his ass.
Yeah.
and, then the 3rd season, he shows up, and some of those kids who are left alive are left shaken by, oh my God, we were wrong. Like, they don't go full nana boo boo at their parents, but they do it to the degree of they're sort of spitting in the face of fate. Of you're sort of tempting it, and when they tempt it and then it comes back at them, it's like, oh shit, see, like the parents don't rub it back at them. They're just silent, like at the funerals and stuff, and they want them to say something. They're like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, if we stay here, we're going to end up dead. And it's coming to that point too, where I think if you're going to tell John Tate's story, where John Tate tried to move on and have a normal life and got married, only to have his wife and his newfound friends be killed by Michael. Michael didn't leave him alone. He waited. So again, there's a lot of things you could play with too. The Preacher would be really cool. I'd love to see something like that have a little difference.
I think that little part of him would be a good springboard for to go into your new series.
Yeah, because if you're going to go away, if they're honestly thinking about going away from Michael, which they did before, then why not? Why not try something a little different? I also think too, again, you have to build your foundation around. Don't just build your foundation around one character. Have another character where, hey, this character's fighting evil this way, and then there's this other character. Sort of have where the Preacher picked up Loomis, have somebody pick up the Preacher, and they're fighting an evil too. There's other shit out there. It's sort of the old thing of Jaws. When you pay attention to what Roy Schreider's Martin Brody is saying, that one man can like protect an island. Okay. Here's the shark, right? Now notice though too, when the shark almost eats his son in the first movie. Now the shark malfunctions, by the way. It was supposed to open its mouth. um, they're at the hospital, and she says, "Take them home," and she says, "Back to New York," and he says, "No, home here. He'll be damned if he goes back to New York."
Yeah.
Motherfucker. Like, damn, dude. Like, your son was almost a meal, and it was like, it's not even a hesitation that he does this. That he, like, knows we're staying here. Like, he'd rather fight that shark than go back to New York. And that's saying something. I'd love to sort of see a character similar to that with Halloween, where they move away from something because they'd rather fight Michael than go back to see crime, right?
Exactly.
Like, I'd rather confront that thing than this. And it's like, okay, be careful what you wish for, though.
Right. Exactly.
Like, we've been confronting that problem for a while here. As you can see, here's the result. Here's this town. There's not much left, right?
Exactly.
Do you think we'll ever get another Nightmare on Elm Street?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think they'll start from scratch again and just like disregard that the 2010 one ever happened. I think they'll start over again. But I think by this time this is going to be like they're going to make sure they have something good, because I think as much as the 2010 one flopped, I think that it's going to be like, we have to do this or it's never going to happen again. This is their one last chance to breathe life back into this thing. And I think they've got one more chance to do it. And if not, if it doesn't work, I think it's going to be a long time before they could even attempt it.
Now, do you think they go full on in and say, "Hey, let's bring back Kevin Langenkamp, let's bring back Robert Englund"? That's my thing, because with Robert Englund, he has said, and I've heard this many times, he won't do a reboot or a remake.
Yeah, and I think he's in his 80s now, so yeah, I just don't see him doing it.
Yeah. Now, I think there's a lot of actors who could play Freddy, but whether they do or don't is up to them, and really up to they need to be very smart on how they do it. They if you're really going to go off like Dream Warriors, we know Nancy dies, right? So
yes,
have I know, right?
Yes.
So, to the people who listen to this, just hold the blanket really tight. He'll be okay. He'll be okay. But yeah, Nancy dies in 3, but I do think you could have Heather Langenkamp do a voiceover that really evil doesn't die. It just rests a while. It sleeps. And when it sleeps, it waits for others to sleep so it can cause them nightmares and sort of have keep the theme of dreams alive in your story. But again, I'd love to see Heather Langenkamp be in another one. Why not? If she'd want to, I don't know what she's doing.
Right now, she and her husband have. She's acting, but she and her husband have a special effects company that they do. Like they did makeup and some of the costumes and alien costumes, like in the new Star Trek movies and stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, they have their own company together.
So they're very, very busy.
Oh yeah.
So that's the thing. Like Heather Langenkamp does not need Nightmare on Elm Street. I mean, she's got her own effects company. She's busy.
Exactly.
Now, if I could see her effects company being part of a Nightmare on Elm Street. They sort of.
Oh, of course.
That would be cool. Okay, because this is going to be no Robert Englund. Who do you put behind the glove? Who do you put as Freddy?
Oh man, I know a big fan favorite out there that a lot of people are pulling for is Kevin Bacon, which I think he would. I think he would be really good.
Yeah.
But I would kind of like him. I would kind of like them to get someone new, someone that's kind of untested, and bring a new, fresh face.
Well, that's the thing too. When Robert Englund got the role, it's not like he was unheard of. He was in a lot of television shows.
And a lot of television shows.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Whoever you cast, don't just cast a name. Don't just cast the name. Cast them because they fit the role the way Englund did. And go from there. I don't really have a name anymore because it's just like, I think no matter the name you pick, it's just like, oh, not that person. But because look, Robert Englund made Freddy a rock star. I mean, you know this. I know this. We fucking grew up during that goddamn era where it was like
he was literally a rock star and had his own album.
Right, like fucking dude, fucking next to the Metallica poster, people had fucking Freddy Krueger. It's like Jesus Christ.
Yep. Yep.
You couldn't. People, if you saw the Megadeth T-shirt, if you saw the Wu-Tang Clan T-shirt, next to the person next to them had the Freddy T-shirt. It's like it was that fucking literal. So when I say you could not go anywhere and not hear Freddy, you literally could not go anywhere and not see Freddy on a T-shirt. That's how big Freddy Krueger was, and that's how big Robert Englund had made him. I mean, look, they made each other's career.
Exactly.
And it was like, it was unbelievable. I mean, you love Freddy. It's just like, wow. And you'd love to see somebody have that effect again with Freddy. I don't know if anybody ever will.
Yeah.
But just be smart, and whoever you cast, give them a chance. Do not do what the writers did and fuck over the guy, because that's the thing. Jackie Earle Haley got dicked out of what he was.
Yeah, he did. He really did.
I don't hold him. I hold zero accountability of Jack Earle Haley. The writers really fucked him over.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. That if it had been Robert Englund and they tried to do that to him, he would have told them to go to hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, he even said the remake sucked. So I mean, he had no like restraint in giving his opinions on it.
Yeah, it's just like, that's the thing. I don't think Jack Earle Haley did a bad job. I just think that sometimes you get these writers who want to do this and then they do this, and it's like, well, does that make sense of what you've been trying to do? No. Okay, then. No. Because the same issue I have with the remake is the same issue I have with 2. Once your killer starts killing, nobody gives a shit about redemption anymore.
Right.
Like, dude, like, I don't like Corey, the character Corey. Once he starts brutally murdering people, I don't give a shit who he's banging. It's not gonna get his virtue back. Like,
no, he's not. Absolutely not.
Like, quit. That's the thing. The reason I love Once Upon a Time in West, Fonda's Frank does nothing to try to get his virtue back. Ever. He just wants certain things, and he'll do whatever he can to get them.
Mhm.
Okay, when you have a killer, same thing. You just be a killer, be a murderer. Don't try to do the 180. Oh, they really have a good quality. I don't give a shit. You just murdered 5 people. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
this isn't a trial room. Like,
Mhm.
like a movie is not a courtroom. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But go ahead. I'm rambling on.
Oh no! You're fine. You're fine, man. I'm enjoying it. Would you? Okay, let me ask you something. If they did, let's say that they took our idea of making a spin-off series with this priest, and we had all kinds of money and stuff. Um, would you want the priest, like the evil that he was going after, to be something supernatural, or to be something like a little more grounded, like a like a killer or something supernatural?
Well, not a serial killer. Not a killer per se,
Uh-huh.
but something more along the lines of supernatural, like a vampire per se, or like a coven of witches or something, or a werewolf or something,
Uh-huh.
or maybe okay, make it a person who is a werewolf, who knows they're a werewolf and knows the priest is after them.
Uh-huh.
That's something you could play with, because if they're doing that deliberately, and it's not so much that the moon changes them, they can change into the wolf at will, and they're a cold-blooded killer. So that's something you can play with.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, it's fair play. There's just like endless opportunities and so much good story that can be told from those 2 minutes that guy was on screen. He made such a good impression. He was one of my favorite parts of Halloween 4.
That's the thing too. I mean, you could literally have it be the devil though too. Like, I mean, you could have it be anything with that priest, because now again, I wouldn't want it to be a serial killer, because that would be too close to what you just did. But if they did go that route, would it work? Yeah. Again, we're all again, heroes or anti-heroes. What are they going? Quest. It's as old as time. I mean, whether it's Solomon Kane, The Shadow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, Mario, again, all characters go on this quest to vanquish something. Whatever that something is going to be, whether it's the devil, a cult, a coven of witches, werewolf, etc. It could be literally anything, and it would be fun to see. So that would be what would you want it to be?
I could see it going either way, but I'm leaning more towards something supernatural that he's going after.
Yeah.
I mean, for it to be evil, and you can't kill evil, I'm leaning more towards a supernatural something.
Yeah, because he even says it doesn't die like a man. Damn, So, and Pleasant Loomis says, "I know that, Mr. Sayre."
Yeah. Yep.
I have the perfect movie for you to watch. Donald Pleasance actually played a preacher. Well, he's played a preacher twice, I believe. One, Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
But he played a mad preacher in Will Penny, and he is like pure evil in that movie.
Oh, I haven't seen. What's it called again?
Will Penny.
Okay.
It's a Western.
Okay.
He is like, dude, he is off his rocker in that movie, and it is so good.
Wow. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
That elk is their Arn. It's Arn. Like what?
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. I'll have to check that out. I've got to see a few more John Carpenter movies since the last time we talked, like Assault on Precinct 13 and a few other ones, The Fog.
Now,
Um,
you've
I'm
seen
trying to
the.
get all of his. I'm trying to get all of his movies.
Have you seen the original, right? Assault on Precinct 13.
Yes, I haven't
Okay.
seen the remake yet.
So you've seen Napoleon Wilson,
Yes,
who basically
that was a
is
tense movie.
who basically is. This is to me where they got the ideology for Snake Plissken. I
Mhm.
mean, in my opinion,
Hmm.
but great movie.
Yes, it is.
Just freaking raw and intense and
Yes,
really
it
good.
is.
Um, I really think again to me that movie is one of my favorite John Carpenter movies because it's so good. It's
Mhm.
so criminally how it's shot, and it's so low budget too. It's
Yeah.
not a movie that has this big budget. People talk about Halloween, how Halloween's low budget. Solid Precinct 13 did not have a large budget to it.
No.
Had this, you say it had explosions and shooting, but still.
Hmm.
And it's a lot more raw than what Halloween. I mean, it's very raw. To me, it's a little more raw than what Halloween was.
Hmm.
I mean, Halloween is. I'm not calling Halloween Hollywood. It's not.
Hmm.
But when you look at the rawness of Assault on Precinct 13 and what
Hmm.
Carpenter does, it's a lot more raw than what he did in Halloween.
Hmm. Yeah, I think Halloween had more money fronted up by Mustafa Akkad,
Yeah.
and they had a bit of a bigger budget and stuff. And Assault on Precinct 13, that's you've got a very small cast,
Yeah.
um, and it's in a confined space, for the most part. And yeah, it's yeah, that movie's like you said, it's very, very raw and very tense.
We won't say what happens to the little girl shopping for ice cream. Um,
Oh no. Oh
we will not spoil that for anybody here.
no.
But it is raw.
Hmm. Yeah, it is.
Holy shit. Um, Again, great movie, entertaining as
Hmm.
hell. Yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
you'll be on the edge of your seat the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. My
Um,
hands were sweaty watching that movie.
your hands are sweaty and dirty at the same time
Yeah,
to this
exactly.
movie, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty gritty. It's got a lot of that 70s grit to
It
it.
does. It feels it feels a lot more gritty than the movies you see. Like, how do I describe it? It's Last House on the Left gritty, like from
Hmm.
the 70s. It's really, really gritty.
Hmm.
But it's beautiful. It's not so gritty it makes you turn away.
Right.
It keeps you invested into the movie.
Oh
Because
yeah, you can't look away.
no. Because you have a character like Napoleon Wilson who's an absolute smartass.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh Jesus Christ. And I like Charles Cypress in this movie. Though
Hmm.
he gets killed off, I like him in this movie.
Same.
It was nice. Like, I saw this sometime after Halloween because my
Hmm.
mom was like, "Did you see John Carpenter's first movie?" I'm like, "No, but I have a feeling you're going to show it to me." And
Good for her.
holy shit,
Hmm.
that movie shook me more than Halloween because it's like I was not expecting a kid to get killed off in it.
Yeah.
It's like when you want to literally sort of like oh my god moment. That's an oh my god moment in that movie,
Yeah.
and it's not over the top either.
Mm-mm. It's very subtle.
Yep, very much, and it's not a movie though that has it doesn't do it in poor taste. Like
Right.
there's movies you see when kids get killed off. It is sort of done in poor taste.
Hmm.
Not this movie.
No.
It's very well done. You know, Carpenter was. I know a lot of people look at Halloween as But I would gladly put this movie against Halloween any day and say it holds up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It holds up really well.
Hmm.
But I think what sort of Halloween, like the Dean Cundy Carpenter pair up, is too good, though. Too, when you look at Halloween,
Yeah.
fucking. But the score for Assault on Precinct 13 is sort of underrated too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's better than Halloween's, but it's really good.
Yeah, it is.
So
It reminded me a lot of Halloween 3.
yes,
Hmm.
and it
And I
has
love the soundtrack to 3.
that dark tone that 3 has too.
Hmm.
It has
Yeah.
that dark, sort of slow pickup tone,
Hmm.
and it goes right along with it. So, is there anything you want to add before we get on out of here, my friend?
I can't think of anything. I think we've covered a lot of ground, and I've enjoyed it all.
I have a question for you though before we go. So, the Carolina Panthers, they're without a quarterback. Are they going to draft a quarterback? Or are they going to trade for one?
Man, I don't know. It's been a bad decade to be the Panthers fan, so I've just kind of uh, I don't know. I haven't kept up with them the last couple of years. I kind of gave up for a little bit, to be honest.
Now, they got a lot of picks because they did
Uh-huh.
trade away Christian McCaffrey to the Niners.
Hmm.
But they got a good team.
Yeah, they do.
So I do think they'll get a quarterback. Now, do I think they'll trade for one? Now, do you think they'll trade for Aaron Rodgers? Do you think they'll throw their picks into the Aaron Rodgers situation or no?
I don't think so. That's
Yeah.
just my opinion, though. What about you?
I'm not so sold they will either because though the thing of it is, I can't see Green Bay trading Rodgers into the NFC.
I can't either.
Because they're not going to want to face him,
Yeah.
no matter who you put him on.
Hmm.
So that would be my one issue. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to get a lot back for him, but again, you never want to trade your quarterback into the to your conference,
Right.
because who the hell wants to do that? Who wants to face their own quarterback?
Exactly.
Seattle did not even do that. They did not trade Russell Wilson to the NFC. They traded him to an AFC team. um, and they still ended up facing him, but in just one game.
Right.
With the NFC, you'd have the potential of potentially facing them. I mean, with the North, you don't want to trade him to the North. Now, you could say, well, to the South, you could just face him once. Yeah, well, if they make the playoffs, you could face him twice. And they probably would because the NFC is not a good conference. No offense to my Seahawks. Our conference sucks. It sucks. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'll go to hell. I'll take my train ticket now, sir. Thank you. I don't think they will, but I could be wrong again. I was wrong about the Derek Carr one. So Derek Carr ended up signing with the Saints. So we'll see.
Yep.
All right, buddy. We do have to do our Friday the 13th ones with Daniel. So are
Yeah.
you good for next week or next Monday?
Yeah, I should be good for next Monday. So we're up to Friday 5 right now.
Yeah, we're somebody gets dressed up as Jason. I won't say who.
Yeah.
Oh, good. All right, Mark, you take care, buddy.
All right, you too. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.